Now, another way the government is thinking about the environment this week is with, well, the military, the Army, announcing its new strategy to fight one of its biggest enemies, climate change.
The Army says the changing climate threatens our country's security and is laying out a plan to make real changes. So joining us this morning to talk about this is Erin Sikorsky, Deputy Director of the Center for Climate and Security, as well as the Director of the International Military Council on Climate and Security. Quite a title there, Erin. Thanks for joining us this morning. So first of all, how would you say climate change is threatening our military?
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. So climate change is making it harder for the Army to do its core job, which is to protect Americans and keep them safe. As wildfires expand in the western part of the United States, as flooding hits military bases, it affects the Army's readiness, their ability to train, right? In California, they've had to evacuate bases due to wildfires. They've had to curtail training days, and it costs a lot of money. So when that happens, so climate change is reshaping the landscape in such a way that really makes it harder for the military to do its job. And if the military doesn't understand how climate change is affecting it and try to make changes, it won't be able to keep America safe.
Now, obviously, one of the big missions that you have when you are talking military is deployment, moving people around. So you've got a huge obstacle, obviously, when it comes to vehicles, right? And the Army uses a lot of them. What is the change and how many vehicles are we talking about that will undergo a change?
Right. So the Army's plan lays out a vision of moving the non-tactical vehicles to electric vehicles by 2027, light vehicles. That's a big shift. And why it's so important is it will drive demand across the entire economy for the United States. The military is the biggest government purchaser after the Postal Service of light vehicles. And so if they move to electric, that's going to send a signal across the country and make the market better.
Erin, this is a huge change. I mean, there are more than 130 Army installations around the world. So what kind of infrastructure changes will be made there, especially as we go electric?
Sure. So the military has created a tool to evaluate every installation and base resilience to climate change. And so for every installation, it's going to be a little bit different. But they're obviously going to have to make changes in terms of charging stations, the ability to support these vehicles. But that will not only help the environment, but it'll also help operational resilience, right? Make the military stronger and able to manage operations. Right now, one of the most dangerous things when militaries are deployed is fuel supply lines, right? In Afghanistan and Iraq, when our militaries were there, fuel supply lines were where soldiers got killed. And if you can reduce the amount of fuel that's needed, if you can move to electric vehicles, that not only, again, is good for the environment, but it keeps our soldiers safer.
Okay, Erin, I got to ask you this question. We always have to ask this. With everything, there's a price. What's the price tag on something like this, the cost of these changes?
Sure. Some things will cost money, but other things in that plan the military can do without increasing its budget, right? Moving bases to clean electricity. If the community in which the base is in, like in Tacoma, Washington, for example, the military base there already has clean energy, then the base can just plug into that. So it's a change in policy, not necessarily a change in funding. But other things, absolutely, they'll need to look to Congress to fund, and that'll be all about making our Army better at doing its core mission and core job. This isn't an either or. It's not environment or do what the military's supposed to do. It's making the military better at doing its core mission, and that's a cost we should be willing to pay.
Erin, really quick, only about 20 seconds left. Have these changes already started? What's the timeline?
Sure. I mean, we've already seen that it's a range of things. Some are already in train. Others will take longer. But there's leadership committed at all levels at the Pentagon, and they're really moving as fast as possible on this.
Okay, Erin Sikorsky, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Lots of information.
Yes.
Very, very interesting, to say the least.
Thank you, Erin. Have a great day. We want to take a